Rumors are circulating that rapper Jim Jones got into a violent altercation with Son during what insiders are calling a highly emotional family breakdown. What began as a private argument allegedly escalated into something far more serious. And now it's sending shockwaves through the hip-hop world, although neither Jim nor his son has officially spoken out. Leaked reports and alleged eyewitness accounts suggest that tensions have been simmering behind the scenes for months. This is a shocking turn of events that has left fans stunned and social media in a complete meltdown. Seems to be in total chaos, according to sources close to the family. The tension between Jim Jones and his son had been building up over time. The two had always had a complicated relationship marked by conflict, and some say could be a turning point in his career and public image. Others say it's just the tip of the iceberg and that deeper issues within the family are finally spilling out into the public eye. What actually happened that night? Was it a heated argument that went too far, or is there something even darker at play? Stay tuned, because the drama is just getting started. It all began earlier that week when Jim's son, whose name is being withheld for privacy, returned home from a trip with his mother, according to sources. The young man had a lot on his mind and had been harboring feelings of resentment, particularly about how Jim had allegedly prioritized his career over their personal bond. Tensions exploded when a simple disagreement over household responsibilities spiraled into a full-blown verbal clash. While the public frequently saw the smiling red carpet appearances and family posts on social media, insiders now claim that behind closed doors, things weren't as picture-perfect as they appeared. The shouting match was heard throughout the entire house, according to witnesses. One witness called the scene heartbreaking, saying that emotions ran high and that neither Jim nor his son was willing to back down. They both said things that they probably didn't mean. The source shared that it was like years of pain coming out in one night. But what happened next is what really shocked everyone. It is said that the argument turned into a physical altercation, with Jim losing control and lunging at his son in a moment of overwhelming anger. It is unclear whether actual punches were thrown, but the altercation was reportedly intense enough that other family members had to intervene and separate them. What's even more disturbing about this incident is how quickly the news spread. Within hours, rumors of the fight started to circulate on fan pages. And shortly after, a blurry audio clip purportedly recorded by someone in the house started making the rounds online. Although muffled, the clip clearly captured Ray's voice and what sounded like furniture being knocked over. Fans immediately started to speculate about what happened, with many expressing shock and concern. Others were quick to point fingers, blaming either Jim for failing as a father or his son for being a fan. Wrote, "I can't believe this. Jim Jones always talked about loyalty and family, but now this." Another wrote, "We don't know what really happened." Don't judge without the full story. The online community was ablaze, and it seemed like everyone had an opinion. But for those closest to the situation, this wasn't just another viral scandal. It was a deeply personal crisis. The reaction was swift and divided on social media, with hashtags like #JimJonesDrama and #FamilyFallout trending. Jim's son reportedly left the house that same night, according to sources, packing a bag and going to stay with his mother, refusing to speak to his father or answer his calls. The silence between them has reportedly continued for days, leaving those close to the family extremely concerned that it's not just about what happened that night. A longtime friend of the family disclosed that Jim had been under a lot of stress lately, dealing with both personal issues and pressures from the industry. The friend explained that Jim has been stretched thin. It's about everything that's been building up over the years, according to the source, and this could really ruin their relationship for good. Fans have also been expressing their concerns about the fight and the fact that Jim hasn't made a public statement. Many people are wondering why Jim hasn't addressed the incident, especially since rumors are spreading like wildfire. Some people think he's keeping quiet to protect his son's privacy, while others think he's hoping the drama will end. But if anything, the silence is only stoking more speculation. A former associate of Jim Jones, who worked with him in the early days of his career, has come forward with claims that this isn't the first time the associate stated in a since-deleted post that Jim has had trouble regulating his temper. Jim's always had a fire in him. Sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's rage. I've seen both. Despite the chaos, some of Jim's inner circle members are reportedly attempting to mediate and bring the family back together. His longtime partner and confidant, Chrissy Lampkin, is said to be deeply involved in trying to ease tensions. According to those close to her, Chrissy has been in constant contact with Jim after the post was swiftly removed. The incident has sparked broader conversations about father-son dynamics, emotional trauma, and the pressures of fame. Fans are now analyzing old interviews, past lyrics, and even reality TV clips to understand the source of the tension. One fan commented on an old video saying you could see the pain behind those smiles. They were never really okay, as she loves Jim and his son and is urging them to talk things out and seek professional help if necessary. One insider shared that she just wants peace in the family. Days passed and the media hysteria only intensified. Numerous media outlets started requesting statements, but Jim and his representatives have not responded as of yet. In contrast, a family friend shared a mysterious message on Instagram that said, "Sometimes the strongest families are the most broken. Pray for healing." Just as people were starting to accept the possibility that they might never know the whole truth, an unexpected twist emerged. That post alone attracted thousands of likes and comments, with followers simultaneously praying and demanding answers. A close friend of Jim's son broke their silence and gave a brief emotional interview to a little-known podcast. The friend didn't go into specifics, but he described the night of the incident as one of the darkest moments in his friend's life. He said he looked up to his dad. Man, that kind of betrayal cuts deep. The podcast clip went viral quickly, reigniting the firestorm and forcing even more people to take sides. Some called for Jim to be canceled, while others pleaded for empathy, stating that everyone makes mistakes and that the family needed healing, not hate. Jim's son has remained silent amid all of this chaos, posting nothing on social media and reportedly avoiding any public appearances. As word of the podcast clip spread, more people close to the family quickly came forward to share their version of what actually happened that night. The floodgates were officially opened, and with each new voice added to the mix, the narrative grew even more twisted, more layered, and far more heartbreaking. Fans who had previously been loyal to Jim Jones were now starting to question the man they thought they knew. The mystery was deeper, and the anticipation was even more intense. The situation, which was already messy and emotionally charged, was about to take yet another unexpected turn. An anonymous family insider caused a stir when he claimed that this wasn't the first major argument between Jim and his son. They said that the two had fought repeatedly in the past, but that the arguments had always been kept under wraps. They said that the family made a concerted effort to keep everything under wraps, particularly because Jim was so concerned about his reputation and didn't want people to see his flaws. The source claimed that he always talked about family first, but in reality, he didn't always live that way. This claim caused fans to relive a specific instance from a previous reality TV appearance where Jim's son appeared withdrawn and uneasy. On camera, the clip was being reshared with titles like "Look at the pain in his eyes," although at the time, people believed he was simply bashful or anxious about being in the spotlight. And he was pleading for assistance, but nobody noticed. While some fans felt bad for not seeing the warning signs sooner, others attacked Jim, accusing him of years of emotional abuse. The media, always eager for more drama, seized on this story and ran outrageous headlines like "Troubled history between Jim Jones and son revealed" and "Family secrets exposed," which took over the blogosphere. In the midst of the chaos, Jim finally made a move. but not in the way that people had anticipated. Rather than making a public statement or directly addressing the issue, he posted a mysterious message to his Instagram story that read, "Real ones move in silence." I said, "What?" I said, "We good?" Show hosts started to speculate about whether Jim's fangs had gotten to this point, or whether he had neglected his responsibilities as a father in pursuit of money, music, and fame. People in the music industry began to weigh in as well, with some defending him and others dismissing him. Even celebrities started to subtly criticize Jim, with some unfollowing him on social media and others liking posts that criticized him. The fallout was spreading quickly, and it appeared as though Jim Jones was rapidly becoming a pariah in his own industry. But instead of calming the storm, comments poured in within minutes. One fan wrote, "This ain't it, Jim. Your son is hurting and you post this." Another fan said, "So disappointed in you. We thought you were different." Insiders speculated that the situation was even more volatile behind the scenes. They said that Jim's son had begun talking to a therapist following the incident, encouraged by his mother and a close family friend. They said that those around him were encouraging him to stay strong and take charge of story, helping him realize that he doesn't have to live in his father's shadow any longer. One source said that could be the beginning of him finding his own voice. Rumors circulated that Jim's son was doing a candid interview about his entire upbringing, not just the fight. This idea sent shockwaves through the fan base, and if he did decide to speak out, it could ruin Jim's reputation forever. But some admirers think it was long overdue. One fan wrote, "He's been silent for too long. He deserves to be heard." Jim reportedly became more agitated as these rumors spread. According to those close to him, he felt betrayed by everyone, not just his son. He felt as though the world had turned against him. One former friend wrote, "It seems like everyone has forgotten all the good he's done. All they care about now is this one moment." Chun's inner circles started shrinking fast. People he'd known for years were suddenly distancing themselves, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, Chrissy was doing everything she could to mediate the situation. She purportedly reached out to Jim's son multiple times, asking if he'd be open to sitting down and having a private conversation, though he didn't respond right away. Sources say he didn't completely shut the door either. He's hurt, but he still loves his dad. One insider explained, "It's complicated. It always is with family." Nevertheless, Jim was unquestionably damaged. A planned appearance at a major music festival was discreetly canceled, and brands that had collaborated with him started to distance themselves out of concern for the negative reaction. One brand spokesperson stated, "We support artists, but we also have a responsibility to stand against violence no matter who it involves." The statement didn't name Jim directly, but everyone knew who it was about. In the midst of this chaos, more unexpected twists began to unfold. A former nanny who worked for the family when Jim's son was a child came forward in an emotional TikTok video. She didn't go into specifics, but said she wasn't surprised by what happened. "I saw things. I hope he finds healing from the things that broke my heart," she said in a sorrowful whisper. After her video went viral overnight, the narrative abruptly changed from indignation to empathy to anger to worry. People started to ask more profound questions, such as, was this a single violent incident or the culmination of years of unresolved trauma? Was Jim a villain or just a broken man who never dealt with his own problems? Was his son lashing out, or finally standing up for himself after years of pain? Fans were feeling uncomfortable as the lines between attacker and victim began to blur, but some clung to hope. One well-liked comment thread beneath a viral video stated, "Maybe this is Rock bottom, and maybe they can rebuild from here. Families fight. It's ugly, but they can still find a way back. As emotions continued to spiral and public opinion swung wildly back and forth, Jim and his son remained publicly silent. No interviews, no live streams, no statements. Others weren't so forgiving, stating that they were done supporting Jim for good. The story was far from over, though, because just as things seemed to be coming to a head, an unexpected visitor, someone no one had seen in years, arrived at Jim's house late one evening. The city was sleeping and the house was quiet, but something about the knock felt heavy and urgent. Jim, who had been sitting in silence in the living room, nursing a drink, and scrolling through the endless wave of comments about him online, froze for a moment, but he didn't move. He thought it might be his imagination, but then he heard 3 slow, deliberate knocks, and he got up, not knowing who would be there at this hour. His breath caught when he opened the door and saw his estranged brother, whom fans hadn't or heard from in years. He wasn't just a sibling. He was Jim's best friend and his right hand until something happened that tore them apart. No one knew exactly what caused their fallout. Some said it was pride, others said it was money. But whatever it was, Jim stared at him in shock. "Why are you in this place?" "I heard what happened," he continued calmly. "And before you ruin your whole life, I thought I'd remind you who you used to be." His brother entered the house without waiting for an invitation. Jim closed the door and spun around, obviously agitated. "A lecture is not necessary for me," his brother responded. "No, but you need someone who isn't afraid of telling you the truth." The tension in the room was high. These were 2 men who were related by blood but who had harbored years of animosity. They sat across from one another for a while without speaking. And then gradually the conversation started to expose long-buried layers. They discussed their early years, their father, and Jim's constant pressure to be the head of the household. His brother reminded him of how they used to dream of success together before fame turned everything sour. "You were never good at admitting when you were wrong," his brother said. "But this is your chance to fix before it's too late." Jim bit his lip and looked away. "You don't know the full story." "Maybe not," his brother said, "but I know pain when I see it, and that boy's hurting. Do you think I can't see it?" "He's scared of you, Jim, and whether you like it or not, that's on you." Those words struck deep, and Jim remained silent for a while, as if he was trying to process the reality of what he'd become in his son's eyes. Meanwhile, outside the house, paparazzi had set up camp, and the front of Jim's house now looked like a war zone, with cameras flashing and voices shouting and cameras searching for any indication of movement. When fans on the internet saw a blurry picture of the unknown visitor at Jim's door, rumors began to circulate once more. Theories about the man's identity and activities ranged from a long-lost cousin to a secret brother to even an undercover therapist sent by the family. As rumors grew, it was said that Jim's son was still hiding and had been living with his mother, refusing to answer any of Jim's calls. However, what shocked fans the most was when he shared his brief but impactful message on his private Instagram account. "I'm not okay, but I will be." Those 6 words were sufficient to send shockwaves over social media. Thousands of people reposted it with love and support. As comments poured in with things like, "We believe in you, stay strong." A rapper who had worked with Jim wrote, "Royalty isn't about silence, it's about accountability." Celebrities started taking sides. Others stood up for Jim, arguing that the public should stop and in one of those recordings, which was later leaked by someone in his circle, he said something that stopped fans in their tracks. "I never hated him, wanted him to see me." Those words struck a chord with everyone watching the saga unfold. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a fight. It wasn't just about drama. It was about a broken relationship between a father and a son. He's talking out loud to himself, sometimes crying, sometimes screaming. It's like therapy. As more details of the story emerged, the public's anger started to change into concern. Memes and canceled posts started to disappear, to be replaced by messages of healing and hope. Influencers started discussing toxic masculinity, generational trauma, and the need for Black families to heal in safe spaces. What started as a scandal was evolving into a movement, but not everyone was prepared to forgive. Critics pointed out that true accountability required more than just silence or therapy sessions. They said Jim hadn't done enough. Nevertheless, the question remained. Just as fans thought the dust was starting to settle, another unexpected twist emerged, this time involving a secret recording that threatened to end any hope of peace forever. The secret recording, which was only 2 days after Jim scheduled that emergency counseling session, was an audio clip that was barely 2 minutes long, but the content was explosive enough to reignite the chaos. Fans first heard it on a celebrity gossip page that had developed a reputation for leaking real-time drama. The caption simply read, "You won't believe what Jim Jones said behind closed doors." Listen now. The audio, which showed Jim venting to someone who was probably a close friend or associate, was unmistakably raw and angry. Jim said, "I don't care if he's my blood," in a tone that was angry, frustrated, and laced with hurt. "I don't care if he's my blood," Jim said. "I'm not raising any weak man. You want to talk about feelings? Then go cry to your mama." The internet erupted in a fury, accusing Jim of being emotionally abusive and refusing to accept responsibility for the pain he caused. The fans were unaware that this clip was taken entirely out of context, but Jim had actually said those words months ago during a time of high family tension. He wasn't talking about his son at the time. Instead, he was discussing a situation involving a former business partner. The audio had been edited, trimmed, and presented as recent. The betrayal was so painful that even Jim, who usually keeps his cool in public, lost his temper once the truth was revealed. "This is foul," he said in a quiet Instagram live. "This isn't just about me." Chrissy, who had been working behind the scenes to keep the family together, finally spoke up. "No more is about how far people will go to destroy you, especially when you're trying to do better." However, the damage was done. People believed what they wanted to believe, and Jim's son was still vulnerable when he saw the click. Sources close to him said he broke down when he heard it. He was just beginning to trust again. Posted a lengthy message on her story addressing the drama without naming names, saying, "Healing ain't pretty. Families fall apart, but they can also come back together. Stop pouring gasoline on a fire you didn't start." The post went viral on its own. Fans divided between those who praised her strength and those who accused her of enabling Jim. Emotions were running high everywhere, and even some of Jim's closest industry friends started to distance themselves. A former collaborator publicly unfollowed Jim and tweeted, "Protect Black sons." Feeling the weight of it all, Jim made the unthinkable decision to speak directly to his son, offering to speak to him directly. The son didn't reply for a few days, and then a week later, the media started reporting that the silence meant Jim had been rejected. Fans interpreted as a sign that reconciliation was impossible, but something was changing behind the scenes. The son had been talking to his therapist every day, trying to make sense of what he felt. He wanted to scream, fight, and cry, but more than anything, he wanted clarity. It wasn't clear to him whether he wanted to forgive, but he needed answers. He finally consented to meet, but only if a professional mediator led the session. The meeting took place in an undisclosed location, away from the city and away from flashing lights. For the first 10 minutes, no one spoke. Jim appeared older than usual, tired and worn out, and his son appeared guarded with his arms crossed and his eyes sharp. The mediator started slowly encouraging both of them to speak without interruption. Jim said, "I messed up, plainly. I let my pride get in the way of being your father. I thought being tough was love. I thought protecting you meant controlling you. I didn't know how to be gentle. I didn't know how to show you that I cared without screaming." But his breathing changed slower and heavier. "I was afraid of becoming the man who raised me," Jim went on, "and in trying not to become him, I became him. Those words hit hard, and finally his son said, "I didn't need you to be perfect. Just show up. Not with rules, not with lectures, just show up." The session lasted more than 2 hours, during which there were tears, apologies, silence, and for the first time in what seemed like years, there was understanding. When it was over, nobody responded. Hugged, no one posed for photos. But when they left the room, something fundamental changed. They weren't fixed, but they were finally facing the same direction. The meeting's details weren't immediately made public. It was kept quiet and sacred, but eventually word got out. Fans saw that Jim and his son had shared the same quote on their Instagram stories. "Healing isn't loud. It's quiet, slow, and real." That was all it took for the internet to light up again, and people started praising the maturity required to have that meeting. Mental health advocates used the story to discuss the significance of podcasts devoted whole episodes to the story's development. Some even referred to it as the most genuine thing Jim had ever done. However, just as the plot was about to take a turn for the better, a source close to the family revealed a startling revelation. Apparently, a legal document had been filed behind the scenes that suggested a custody dispute not over a child, but over a joint business venture that Jim and his son had been developing covertly for more than a year. The fight wasn't just personal, it was also professional. Fans were shocked, unaware that the father and son had been the project was supposed to be a media company that aimed to empower young voices. According to the source, the plan had been set in motion quietly, but once their relationship soured, so did the deal. Now, the question was whether they could still do business together after everything that happened. Some fans said yes, while others weren't so sure. And suddenly the drama took a different turn because this wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about legacy, trust, money, influence, and whether two wounded men could rebuild something greater than their pain. However, before any of those answers could be given, another unexpected figure returned. The unexpected figure was none other than Freddie, Jim's estranged older brother, who had lived in the shadows of Jim's fame for years, choosing a life away from the cameras and chaos. However, Freddie had returned, and according to several sources, he wasn't just visiting, he had a purpose. For the first time, Jim and his son began discussing issues not as rivals, but as partners. They came up with new ideas for the business and even thought about making a documentary about their journey, not for publicity, but to help others who might be suffering in silence in broken families. For the outside world, Jim had stopped posting on social media, had no new music, and had no interviews. It seemed as though he had disappeared. The blog speculated about everything from rehab to retirement, but in reality, "Jim, I'm not perfect. I've hurt people I love, but I'm not going to run from it. I'm here to say we're still writing the story. And the next chapter is going to be different," Jim said in a 2-minute video post titled "Rebuild." It featured no fancy editing or background music, just Jim sitting on a wooden chair staring straight into the camera. He was in the process of rediscovery and was putting all of his energy into rebuilding his relationship, not just with his son, but also with himself. The video exploded online. Millions of views and hours. The comment section was flooded with messages like, "We see your growth, and this is what accountability looks like." His son shared the video with a simple caption, "Let's create." The atmosphere changed immediately after that. Fans conjectured about future content, possible interviews, and even joint ventures with other father-son hip-hop duos. Rumors circulated that the father and son had returned to work on their media company. They were working nonstop behind the scenes, hiring producers, creating a launch strategy, and then making the official announcement that Jim and his son would be speaking publicly about their journey for the first time at a live panel event in New York City. The event was invitation only, but it was live streamed for the world to see. On the day of the event, tension was high, as celebrities, influencers, journalists, And regular fans all tuned in, wondering if the drama was really over or if it was just another performance. The lights went down, and Jim walked out first, dressed in all black. The audience fell silent as Jim took the microphone. "Months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life," he said. "I let my anger speak louder than my love. I hurt someone who deserved better, and it took me losing almost everything to realize that's not the man I want to be." His expression was calm but serious, and then his son appeared, standing a few feet beside him. They didn't hug or smile. They just looked at each other and nodded. He hesitated, the room was silent, and then his kid said, "I've been upset. Been confounded, but I've also matured and come to the realization that we don't heal in silence. We heal in truth, and today, this is our truth." They then declared that their new podcast series, Bloodlines, would officially debut that weekend. The first episode would delve deeply into their real-life journey from violence to vulnerability, and fans went crazy online. Hashtags like #Bloodlines, #JimJones, and #FatherSomeHealing trended for hours. The panel's clips were reposted all over the place, but perhaps the most impactful moment came at the end of the event. Jim turned to his son just before he left the stage, but he didn't speak into the microphone. Simply said, "I appreciate you giving me another chance. Don't waste it," his kid said in a whisper after glancing into his moist eyes. As the world rejoiced in this moment of solidarity, rumors of another scandal started to circulate beneath the surface. It was said that a member of Jim's inner circle had sold private text messages. It's the picture of the father and son standing, side by side, bruised but rebuilding. Became the symbol of a new chapter for them, as well as for families struggling in silence everywhere. Fans are left with a whirlpool of emotions as this intense chapter in Jim Jones' life comes to an end. From a shocking altercation that nearly tore a family apart to a public moment of healing and reflection, this story has been nothing short of unbelievable. The messages to a tabloid painted a very different picture of Jim's mindset during the early days of the fallout. Insiders warned that the messages were explosive, but they hadn't been published yet. As a result, while the family was stronger than ever before, another storm was quietly brewing on the horizon, threatening to undo everything they had worked so hard to rebuild. Every twist has kept viewers riveted to every update, but with rumors of more drama on the horizon, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. Will Jim be able to protect his family's interests? Personal confessions, the unexpected reappearance of a long-lost brother, and the heartfelt reunion between father and son. Will the purported text message leak cause another media frenzy despite the relative calm? And can the father-son relationship really withstand the demands of celebrity, business, and treachery? You've witnessed the highs and lows of lows, and the times in between. We'd like to hear your thoughts. Jim, is this the redemption storyline that fans have been anticipating? Or is Jones's transformation merely a new stage in a cycle of guys? Please share your opinions in the space provided here. We're reading each and every one of them. If this roller coaster startled, moved, or just delighted you, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're craving more shocking celebrity tales, behind-the-scenes information, and first access to them, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications. For the realm of hip-hop drama, won't want to miss what comes next, since nothing remains concealed for very long in the world of celebrity, family, and feuds. Stay tuned, and remember that even when the cameras are rolling, we always have the actual story. Give up rollin'.